live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com. This is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
What's going on? Are we on?
We are on. That was a weird bugaboo. There you are.
All right. Okay. Technical problem over. What a sad day, man. I don't know about you, John, but I shed a few tears. I just found myself involuntarily just shedding a few tears. Queen is dead. One of the great figures of the 20th century has left us at the age of 96. We'll never see the likes of her again. I doubt if there is anyone, certainly in the Western world, who didn't love her. He just, a warm figure, went through some very difficult times with her family and otherwise, but through thick and thin, she's been a stabilizing force. Sad day. I don't know about you, but I find I'm very sad. Mind you, I'm an older guy, so the Queen essentially has been with me for most of my life. I can remember the days when, during the Second World War, when the royal family, the Queen Mum and the present Queen, refused to leave London, stood steadfast. The Queen, the Queen, who's not just left us, signed up to drive a truck through some terrible times during the Blitz in London. As I say, a tremendous figure. History will be very, very kind to this woman, I am sure. But I guess it begs the question. I don't know if it's appropriate to ask it or not, but I'm pretty well compelled to. What does this mean for the monarchy? I'm beginning to, there is simply no question that Prince Charles, who, by the way, now is 76, he's been the heir apparent since age 3, believe it or not. He isn't nearly the popular figure that the Queen has been. Whether the monarchy can survive Prince Philip, I don't, or Prince Charles, I'm sorry. I'm a little confused here today on this. Whether the monarchy can survive, I'm just wondering if perhaps this is the beginning of the end for the monarchy in Canada. As you know, some Commonwealth countries have decided to abandon the monarchy. Barbados. We expect that the Bahamas will follow suit quite soon. I'm not sure what the sentiment in Canada is. I know that with the Queen there, the sentiment was very heavily in favor of the monarchy. Some exceptions, of course, but I think as long as the Queen was there, Canadians were quite content, quite happy actually to be, ruled by a monarch. What the sentiment will be now, I don't know. I'll leave that up to you folks. What are your comments? What memories do you have? Do you agree with my assessment that history will be very kind, record her as one of the great stabilizing forces of the 20th century? And what do you think this means for the fate of the monarchy itself? Was it solely dependent upon the popularity of the Queen? Will that popularity remain, or how much of it will remain? And what does it mean, do you think, for Canada? Is it time that we begin to examine abandoning the monarchy? I'll leave that up to you. I'm a monarchist. There's no question about it. I think it's been a great stabilizing force. I, like most other people, am not nearly as crazy about Prince Charles, that's for sure, Prince of Wales. But he will be the king. And what it means, as I say, for the monarchy, for Britain, for Canada, for the rest of the Commonwealth, I'm not sure. What do you say? I'm having a little bit of difficulty here. I will admit that this woman has been, as I've said earlier, she's been my queen for much of my life, certainly much of my adult life, and she's certainly been part of my life since she was a little girl and I was a little boy. John, what are people saying? Is it too soon to get some response or what?
No. The comments are very quick, and they're coming in on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube, and yep, Canada would be nowhere. Canada would not be where we are today without the Queen, says James. Michael says this is extremely sad news. Charles is in fact now the king as of 1:32 this afternoon our time. I guess he automatically became king.
Okay,
Hazel says
wait till I just record that. 1:32. Okay.
1:32 our time. Yep. God bless her, says Hazel. Fond memories of someone regal and worthy of our love. God bless the Queen, says Peter. I think thanks to the Queen, it will make a stronger nation. She was an example for the rest of us to guide us in her memory. God bless the Queen, he says. Time for Canada to end its ties to the monarchy, says Bill. Maybe the end to the British Empire, suggests Coraline. Sad day and perhaps a discussion to take place down the road, says Anne. Prince Charles would be best to pass the throne to his well-respected son, William, suggests Craig. Skip Charles and go straight to William. Another person saying that. That's Woodenhead on Twitter, on YouTube. Kathy says, I don't think the monarchy will last with the death of the Queen. Let's go to more recent comments. The world lost a great lady. God bless her. May she rest in peace. Lori says, great memories. My dad marched when she came to Uplands, and my best friend's dad cooked for her on the plane. Oh, cool. We waved our flags when I was in school at 5 years old. Loved her. That's a great story. What a great memory. I don't think that I want to have King Charles on our money, says Anne. Kelly says, I wonder how the monarchy
Can I tell you before you go further? I'll
Sure.
take anybody as long as the money is good. As long as the banks and the stores will accept the money, I'll take anybody's photo on it. Okay, go ahead.
Fair enough. My memory of the Queen, I never got a chance to see. I think I saw her maybe on Parliament Hill during a changing of the guard, but I remember being at a football game. I want to say around 76, maybe during the Olympics. They ended up bringing the Queen to Ottawa, and she sat in my section just a few rows up.
Let me tell you a little story. 76 Olympics in Montreal. I was assigned to cover for CFRA and a large number of other stations. My wife, Kitty, at the time, and I had a little boat. And we our two daughters, Danielle and Leanne, just little girls, and we took them in the boat up to Man and His World. There was a big dock at Man and His World in Montreal. And guess who we docked beside? The Queen's Royal Yacht.
Wow.
Now, we had. So I'm in this little boat. It was, I think, what, a 25-footer or something. Nice little boat with a little crowded with the four of us. But the second day we're there, we're docked, and who moves up? Honest to God, right beside us, because we are at the end dock, is the Queen's Royal Yacht. Now, I never saw the Queen, but I certainly saw lots of people scrubbing that boat. That had to be the best scrubbed boat I have ever seen. Great memory for me. Go ahead, John.
Chrissy says, my heart is full of sadness right now. Julie says, I'm 43 years old and I'm crying. And taken back. She holds such a legacy. Gregor says the British monarchy will probably outlive humanity in England. Canada might be due for some constitutional reform. Elected senators, maybe even a president, quote unquote, republic. God bless the Queen. My mother was British, and losing the Queen is like losing my mother again. Rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth. Queen Elizabeth II, Ottawa on Canada Day in 2010 on Parliament Hill. Great memories. I guess Chrissy met her there. Is that what you're saying, Chrissy? And Satan's Playmate says she met the Queen in October of 2002. Over to Facebook. Darlene just read a few weeks ago, Prince William and his family moved out of the palace to have some normality for his kids. But again, can't believe anything you read. Maybe we can get rid of the Governor General, suggests Ray. Well, if we get rid of the monarchy, there's no point.
That's that. So people understand. I think most people do. The Governor General represents the Queen, represents the monarchy in Canada, and if we are to abandon the monarchy, then obviously we would abandon not just the Governor General, but the Lieutenant Governors in all of the provinces, because there's the Governor General who represents the monarchy federally. And then each province has its own lieutenant governor who represents the monarchy in the provinces. So if we abandon the monarchy, then obviously we would abandon all of those posts. Go ahead, John.
Looking for your thoughts on the passing of Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, passing away just minutes before this show went to air, as a matter of fact. Joshua says, I think what made the Queen so likable is that she was regal but could communicate with anyone. I've seen her with guards, soldiers, asking them where they're from, etc., and she had a wonderful sense of humor and didn't take herself too seriously. Not sure anyone else in the family has those qualities.
It's too bad, it's too bad that she had such a dysfunctional family. I think that's an appropriate phrase, because she and Prince Philip, I think, were a marvelous couple. They obviously loved each other right to the end. They doted on each other, and it's a little surprising, perhaps, as I say, that they had such a dysfunctional family. Go ahead, please.
It is strange about that. You're right, because they seemed like a lot of fun. Her
Yeah.
and her husband.
Now,
Yeah.
mind you, when you got to stop. I mean, this is the royal family. There's tremendous pressure. I mean, there is no way that you could raise a child in what we would call normal fashion
No.
if you're a member of the royal family. So you always got to keep that in mind. There's some special pressures being applied there. Go ahead, John.
I'm sorry to hear the Queen's death, and do not look forward to Charles as king, says Marcia. Any regulation with Her Majesty on it must be changed immediately to His Royal Highness, or whatever name he takes, says Andre. So that would be underway right now. 54-year-old Ottawa resident here says, Slacker Dan, hard to believe the Queen has passed. She's always been a respected presence and inspiration to me and to so many other Canadians.
If you examine the history, the British history during wartime with Churchill, you will see that it was the royal. Churchill was under tremendous pressure from many people in the nation, including many members of his own political party, to offer either surrender to the Germans before they attacked, or to strike some sort of a deal, which would have been a terrible deal. Churchill was torn as to what to do, because nobody thought that Britain at that point stood all alone. France had fallen, all of Europe had fallen. So Britain, essentially this tiny little island, was pretty well on its own. And most people didn't think that they stood a ghost of a chance. So Churchill was really, really torn. But it was the monarchy at that time, the King George, that came to his defense and said, no, we will not see the swastika flying over Buckingham Palace. So that's just a little bit of history of the royal family and the monarchy and the role that it's played, and not just British history, but our history, because British history to a large degree is part of our history as well. Go ahead, John.
So Terry has a question. Does Camilla become queen, or is she given a title?
That's a very good question, and I'm not sure if we have made up our people have made up their minds on that. I am not sure. Sorry.
Murray says, my favorite was her talking to James Bond. That was cool, and it also makes me think of the Super Bowl commercial. I believe it was the Super Bowl just this past February, with her sitting down with Paddington Bear and her revealing.
Yeah, this is during the Olympics. Yeah, yes, that was delightful.
Yeah, and what was it?
Supposed to have parachuted in, right?
She became queen the year I was born, says Carrie. So the only head of British royal family that she's ever known. Queen of consort, I believe. Is that Kelly answering the question regarding Camilla? I believe so.
Yeah.
Yep. Mahadi wants to know if tomorrow's show will be an open house. Mahadi, I invite you to find out tomorrow. Camilla, there you go. Michelle says Camilla will be queen of consort. Carrie says that as well. Camilla is queen of consort. What does that mean?
Queen consort.
Queen consort.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in royalty. Believe me. I'm sure that there are some people listening who will have the explanation, though.
I can look that up too. Darlene says, my 83-year-old mother just told me when she was a little girl, she went to the Queen's parade when the Queen came to Ottawa. She also made 2 big scrapbooks of the Queen when she was young. A lot of people did that. My wife was a big royal fan too. Kirk says she's a teen driving a truck around, aiding the wounded during the Blitz. Yes, Trudeau, Princess Elizabeth drove a trucker believing in freedom. There you go. We had to make that political, did we? She was crowned on my birthday, says Lorraine. Let's go to an email we got here a short time ago from Paul. Hi, Lowell. My grandmother always kept a penny from the King and Queen's visit to Canada in 1939. The Queen Mother, that is. She had put it in on the rails and train ran over it and squished it. I hope William can take on being king, even though he has a very young family. I think in Canada, we need to be proud of our heritage, even though it's not perfect. But then again, what nation's history?
You know, that business of putting a penny on the railway tracks. I still have several pennies. I think my pennies have King George's portrait on them. But yeah, when we were kids, there was a railway that ran just behind our little farm, and that was great sport. You'd put a penny. I'm surprised we could spare a penny. I remember what I do. A little story. I can remember doing this and taking that penny. In those days, you could buy a candy for a penny. Okay, it's called penny candy.
Yep.
And I went to the store. This is in Arthur, Ontario, and he wouldn't accept the crushed penny, and I was crushed. I couldn't believe it. Go ahead, John.
Just looked it up. Queen consort, according to Wikipedia. Queen consort is the wife of a reigning king or an empress consort in the case of an emperor. So there you go. She's the wife of the king, queen consort.
Okay.
Terry says, I need a drink of Crown Royal. Okay, we're there already. 613-413-2217. Feel free to call in with your memories, your thoughts on the passing of Her Majesty the Queen earlier today. Here's Ruth. She says, sorry that the Queen has passed. Not a big fan of the monarchy and our country being controlled by it. The big question is, what does this mean for Canada? Is this a way out? What will happen? I guess we'll take a wait-and-see approach.
Before you go further, Canada is not controlled by the monarchy. I mean, we have it was Pierre Trudeau that brought our Constitution back to this country. We are masters in our own house here. It does require royal assent. That's a formality. Not in modern history has the monarchy in any way interfered with political life in this country. Go ahead, John.
It's really just it's a token thing, isn't it?
Essentially, yeah. It's a ritual, yes.
It's consort, says Michelle, because she isn't a royal by birth. Okay, there we go.
Okay, thank you.
Your daughter Leanne says, the Queen came to Wakefield, Quebec on the train. We all stood out and waved. Very cool.
Well, everybody comes to Wakefield.
Yeah, well, I mean, why wouldn't you? Especially in the fall. Wakefield in the fall? Oh, gosh. Pretty sure the TV coverage ratings will be huge today on the Queen story. That was actually kind of sickening. The gathering of the media outside Balmoral. Like play-by-play waiting for her death. I found that kind of morbid.
Let me talking about television coverage. What was the year? Can you check for me? Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to do much research on this. What year was the Queen, the royal, what do you call it, the installation when she became Queen? Oh my goodness, help me, please. Help me here.
I'm Googling.
The coronation.
The coronation. February 6th, 1952.
52. Okay. The coronation. Sorry, folks.
That's
I'm
okay.
having a little difficulty today. Prior to 1952, certainly in Canada, at least where I grew up, very few people had a television set. I don't know if your family did or not, but we did not. But the coronation was such a big event, it was going to be televised live. So there was a tremendous rush to buy televisions. It was a great boon to Westinghouse and a number of those companies that made television sets. Everybody had to have a television set. The only problem was in those days, 1952, we didn't have satellite, which meant that it may have been live in Britain, which it was, but it wasn't live here. It was delayed. So you know what? They took film of the coronation, big event, of course, took a film, put it aboard a jet plane and flew it to Canada. I think it was about 6 hours later that we actually saw the coronation. But the coronation was really the birth of television in this country. I think some of you people will remember this. Go ahead, John.
The things that would be involved in covering an event like that in 1952, that they could get even filmed and overseas that quickly. That's remarkable. I mean, now it'd be nothing. People could stream it from their iPhone, but 1952.
Precisely.
Oh my gosh.
It was very new. Television was very new. As I say, very few. In fact, the first television that I saw was in a store window. There was a big fight. Sugar Ray Robinson, I think. Anyway, it was a big fight in New York, and I can remember standing. This is in Orillia, and no, in Brantford. I'm sorry. And standing outside this store window with a big crowd of people, all men, watching this fight in the middle of the night. It was that's television in the 50s in this country, anyway. Go ahead. By the way,
I was going to say, speaking of TVs, I know where to get one. A Sony TV. Shields is now selling Sony, right, Lowell?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And television has sure come a long way. Some people say not for the betterment, but at any rate. But yeah, we're talking about heritage here. We're talking about history, and in many ways, Shields is a little bit of heritage, certainly in the valley, certainly part of the history. Same family, same location since 1947. That's not quite antique, but certainly historical. But that doesn't mean that their service isn't up to date and modern. And the products, of course, absolutely. All the latest, all of the brands that you could possibly want in stock, which means that they can be in your house in certainly within the week, maybe sooner. And Sony, yes, Shields has now been designated as a registered Sony dealership. So all of your requirements for video, sound, etc., now available at Shields as well. Shields Furniture and Appliances, shields.ca. Thank you, John. Yes.
Erlene says she remembers that coronation. The media were like vultures today. I mean, I get it, but it's really kind of morbid to watch that. The king died in 1952, says Carrie, and she became queen, but the coronation happened in 1953. So then why was it that I saw that became monarch in the early hours? Okay, so she automatically became monarch. The coronation happened later.
53. Okay. Right. All right.
Okay.
All right.
That's we had a few people saying 53 and 52. That explains it. Thank you very much. Our listeners.
All I know is that we didn't have television until the coronation. Go ahead.
And it would have been black and white, right, Lowell?
Oh, black and white. You believe it.
You liked it. Yes. When I was young, says Anne, and in the Brownies, we, along with the Cub Scouts, did a rock centennial flag. A year or two later, the Queen came for a visit to Kingston, and we all gathered, and she viewed our centennial rock flag. I was so lucky she came along to say hi to all, and I got to shake her hand. We'll never forget this.
Good for you.
Wow.
Yeah, that's great memory.
So sad to hear the Queen's passing, says Eileen. I also remember having scrapbooks of the Queen's family as a child. My mom and dad both came from England. Christine on Facebook. I wish that Charles would directly pass it to his firstborn son. We shall see. British media are like piranhas, says Coraline. Elizabeth was in Africa when her father died, and she instantly became queen. Joshua
yes,
says,
she was. Yes, you're right. Elizabeth was in Africa when she got news that her father, who was a very popular figure, by the way, as well, had died. You're right.
Joshua with this comment: if Lowell had a bucket list of people he could have interviewed in his career, safe to say the Queen would be on it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, mind you, I'm not sure what question she would have been able to answer, but yes, I would have loved to have interviewed her. Yes, thank you.
Ballpark, two other people that would be on your list of people you would have loved to have interviewed in your career.
Churchill and Gorbachev. I think that Churchill and Gorbachev, and the Queen, I think some of the great figures of the 20th century. I think that history has not quite gotten around to giving Gorbachev the credit. But I mean, here is a man who ended the Cold War, perestroika, and freed tens of millions of people from the terrible yoke of communism. Gorbachev, Churchill, and the Queen. Go ahead.
Incoming call. Haven't had a chance to screen it, but let's go to it right away. Hi, you're on live with Lowell Green. Can we get your name, please?
Lowell and John, this is Jace.
Of course it's Jace.
Yes,
Hi,
Jace.
Go ahead.
I think this is one of those watershed moments, Lowell. I think this is honestly the end of the British monarchy as some meaningful thing. Like the Queen held it together for all this time, and I don't think the monarchy is going to last as a relevant entity. The monarchy itself,
You think this is the beginning of the end?
I really do think so. Yeah. I don't think Charles has the inner strength to do what Queen Elizabeth has done. He's a nice guy, but he just he doesn't have that presence, that respect of people around the world. He's done some wonderful things.
Yeah, and he's done some things that were,
and he's done some stupid shit too.
His relationship with Camilla, I think, is still harsh in the memories of many people.
Yeah.
Jace, you believe this is the beginning of the end, just in Canada, or do you think in Britain as well?
No, I think around the world.
You do, eh?
Literally, I think this is the end. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's still going to exist. I mean, Monaco has its princes and all that kind of stuff. There's other kings and queens around the world, but no one comes close to what Queen Elizabeth has represented and the light that she's carried around the world. And you can get into a whole conversation about colonialism, but literally she's done wonders for the world, and she's held herself with grace throughout all of the difficulties and troubles. And I don't think anybody in that family can carry it on.
Very interesting comment. Thank you very much, Jace. Thank you, sir. John, what else? We're running a little short of time here.
Yeah, and we appreciate the comments. Anything that I don't get a chance to read or pop up on the screen, I will certainly forward to Lowell. Tina Marie agrees with Jace. Mims is watching on YouTube. I agree with the caller. Charles is not the person to represent the monarchy. And says at the end of the day, they are traditionalists, so let's face it, Charles will be the king. Popular or not, I can't see any other scenario taking place. Tom says, took pictures for Canadian press of the Queen coming off the royal airplane meeting PM Trudeau on one of her visits to Canada. Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. Tom says that was PM Pierre Trudeau. No, I think we got that, Tom.
I think we figured that one out, Tom. Yeah, thank you.
Kelly says, I think she was the matriarch of the royal family, the last real symbol of royalty because of the way she held herself. Let's go to email. And Jamie, again, the address here is Lowell@blasttheradio.com. Jamie says, I wonder if Canada can break away from the monarchy now. It won't be the same without the Queen. I also always wondered why Princess Margaret was not allowed to wed the love of her life simply because he was a divorcee. When Prince Charles was allowed to marry Camilla, wasn't she divorced?
Well, times changed. I mean, there was a time when really, we're talking about marriage ceremonies, that religion was paramount. It was just it was very, very difficult for a Roman Catholic, for example, to marry a Protestant, and even doubly difficult for a divorced person to marry a Protestant, or a Catholic for that matter. So times change. Thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then you try and bring, the Church of England into all that, and wow. The caller makes a lot of good points, says Michelle, but the monarchy can survive if Charles abdicates to William. Murray says lots of corgis and horses are going to miss the love. Oh, that's true.
Yeah, the Queen sure loved her horses, didn't she?
Yep,
and her corgis.
There are way too many institutions, museums, and facilities in England, says Gregory. The British tourism industry is huge on heritage. We Canadians should take some lessons on how to make our heritage more popular and tourism worthy. On Twitch, Tina Marie says the Queen's father was second in line. His brother gave up the throne to marry a divorcee as well.
Oh, yes, that was a great scandal, yes.
And we've got a text here at 613-413-2217. RIP Queen Elizabeth, you served the Commonwealth well. As for Canada, I think it's time we move on from the monarchy. It certainly does nothing to keep the corrupt Liberals in check.
By the way, I just have a comment on someone referred to colonialism. I mean, all nations. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a country that hasn't been colonized at some point in its history. But one of the things, if you examine those nations that were colonized by Britain, for the most part, you're going to see nations that have done rather well, and particularly in comparison to some of the nations colonized by other nations. Canada was colonized by Britain, the United States, many of the Caribbean islands that do well, the ones that don't do so well, Haiti, for example, not a British heritage, India, democracy. So you may not like colonization, but I mean, that's just part of history. That's what happened. But those countries colonized by Britain, in comparison with many others, have done very, very well. Look around the world and you'll see if I'm not right. Go ahead.
I think that's a good place to end things today. Lowell, we're right at the bottom of the hour. Some great comments, some great memories on a very, very, very difficult day, and we're all with you. It was a difficult show for you to do, I know.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Thank you very much. Back tomorrow.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green Podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green Podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.